Hello students, today I will deliver the lecture on business management for BCom second sem. In earlier online lecture, we have started the new topic decision making, and in that decision making we have seen the characteristics of decision making, okay, and what are the different types of decisions which are taken by the managers, and at the same time we have gone through with the details regarding the steps involved in decision making. There were 6 to 7 steps in decision making, okay, how the problems are diagnosed and defined. Then second step means the problem is analyzed. Then third step, fourth, fifth, at sixth step, the actual decision is made, and then lastly the follow up for that particular decision has been made. So these are the steps involved in the decision making. Today we will see the difficulties in decision making. What may be the difficulties which managers may face in the process of decision making, and these difficulties may be incomplete information, okay, as the problem has been arised, there is a problem, okay, and the decision has to be taken on that specific problem. Now here, if the decision maker means the manager or whomsoever is taking the decision, and if they have incomplete information or whatever the information is available is not proper, then how the decision can be made? This is very obvious. So to take any certain decision, to make the decision regarding the business, the information, okay, the problem or the analysis, to make the analysis for the certain problem, the information should be complete and correct. With the help of correct and complete information, the managers can take correct decisions in the businesses. So one of the difficulty is incomplete information. Then secondly, unsupportive environment, okay, the decisions are made by the managers or departmental heads, but after or before taking the decision, if the environment, now here which kind of environment is talked about? The surrounding means the employees, okay, if there is no proper coordination and cooperation among the employees, then the taken decision cannot be implemented properly, or the decision making process get hurdled here in unsupportive environment. Although the decision has been taken by the manager is correct, but the he is not getting the proper support or unsupportive environment related to that decision, then it becomes a difficulty. Although the decision is very correct and as per the situation or as per the problem, so problem may get solved with that decision, but if the employees are not supporting, if the environment is not good, if the people who are working in the group, they have some lacunas, they are competing with each other, then that unsupporting environment will not uh, is not what you say good from the decision made point of view. So for taken decision, there must be a proper environment or supportive environment. Then on non-acceptance by subordinate, just now discussed that environment should be good. Every employee should support the decision made by the manager, okay. If the subordinates, if the employees or the different persons appointed in the different places or different positions, if they are not accepting, then what will happen? There will be no use of the decision made by the manager. So the decision which has been taken by the manager must be accepted by the subordinates. Ineffective communication, see, that may be from both the ends, maybe from the manager and from the subordinates or employees, okay. If there is improper communication, if the message or information is not sent in a proper manner, in a correct way, then it is known as ineffective communication, and that ineffective communication is the difficulty in decision making. Means the decision is taken, okay, managers have decided, but if it is not channelized properly up to the subordinates, up to the employees, and that may be the reason of ineffective communication, so it should not happen, okay. whatever the decision has been taken, and if it is properly communicated to the subordinates and employees, then only there is a use of decision making. Otherwise, ineffective communication will become a difficulty in decision making. Incorrect timing. Proper timing is required. Okay, there is a problem which employees are facing in their production department. Okay, they have told their managers to take decision since 8 days, 7 days, 6 days. That problem is there, the problem has been arised, but the manager, they are not supporting to the employees, they are not giving the decisions within the time. Then what will happen, that particular problem will go on delay, will go on continuing, and due to that what you say pending problem, the decision will not be taken in a right time. So incorrect timing is also a difficulty in decision making. So now, although there are the difficulties, but managers should overcome. Okay, here coordination and cooperation among the top level, middle level, and lower level management is very much essential, is very much required. So what are the options which are suggested? These are: define the goal. Okay, goal and objectives must be defined properly for the to overcome the difficulties. Now define the goal, then ensure that decision contributes to the goal. Okay, whatever the decisions which are taken by the managers, that must be helpful to achieve the goal or the set targets of the management. So first of all, define the goal properly. Define the goal which every management has decided. Okay, so ensure that decision contributes to the goal. It is not like the decision is taken something else and your goal is something else, but your decision must be towards the goal of the organization. Adopts diagnostic approach. Okay, diagnostic means, again these are the medical terms. Adopt the diagnostic approach. Okay, every time managers should contribute, they should diagnose and define the problem. So adopt a diagnostic approach. Try to involve subordinates in decision making. Sometimes it is better to involve the subordinates employees in the decision making, because finally who are going to complete the work? Obviously the subordinates and the employees. So many of the times it is advantageous to involve them in decision making process, because they are the real persons who are facing the problems in the organization. So try to involve the subordinates in decision making. Make sure that decision is properly implemented. Again, we have seen in the process or in the steps involved in the decision making, that whatever the decision has been taken, that must be implemented properly. Okay, so make sure the decision is properly implemented. Then evaluate the results. Who are going to evaluate? Obviously the managers are going to evaluate the results, and the decision must be flexible, or there must be flexibility in decision making. Whatever the decision has been made, but considering the situation, considering the time, or considering the demand of the time, demand of the work, that decision must be flexible. It should be changed at the time. It should be easy to change. So these are the options to overcome from the difficulty. Now we will see the techniques of decision making. Traditional and modern techniques. Decision making has become a complex problem. A number of techniques are available with the help of to take some decisions. So there are some traditional techniques and modern techniques. So first we will decide that traditional techniques. So traditional techniques are again divided or classified into programmed decisions and non-programmed decisions. Now decision making for programmed decisions, we have seen programmed and non-programmed, because these are the long-term decisions. These are exactly related to the business activity of the organization. So the programmed and non-programmed decisions, which is the part of the traditional techniques of decision making. Now decision making for the programmed decisions, that is standard procedures and rules. Every organization develop their own standard procedures and rules for taking routine and repetitive decisions. Okay, whenever needed, a manager refers to the standard procedures and rules before taking simple decisions. So standard procedures and rules, every organization has their set of rules. They have their procedures and policies which are standard, and accordingly the decisions are made. Then organizational structure. A relationship is established between superior and subordinates, employer and employee. Okay, that relationship is explained in particular structure that is known as organizational structure. So this relationship comes out to the organizational structure. Person at different organizational structures are assigned to work to be done by them. Okay, right person, right job. Every person who is right for that doing right job, he must be appointed as per the as per his experience, as per his educational qualification. Then it is only said that right person, right job. So for taking up this work, managers need authority to take decisions. The authority to take decisions needs proper information backup. So because managers are mainly involved in decision making, so all managers and decision making centers are linked to information system for supplying information whenever is needed. So it is organizational structure. Now decision making for non-programmed decisions, because non-programmed decisions are strategic in nature and require separate analysis and interpretation. The quantitative and scientific technique help in taking such complex and unique problems. Now, linear programming. This kind of decision making process is generally adopted in case of big areas like production, planning, transportation, warehousing location and utilization of production, etc. Because see, every organization needs some statistical data, and that statistical data is uh, what you say calculated or ascertained with the help of linear programming. So the linear programming is applicable in such problem areas, for example production planning, transportation, warehousing location, utilization of production and warehouses facilities at an overall minimum cost, because these decision makings involves monetary effect also. So that should be also considered, that decision must be taken with minimum cost. Now probability theory. This is again a technique used for non-programmed decisions. This statistical tool is based on the assumption that certain things are likely to happen in future in manner which can be predicted to some extent by assigning various probabilities. Probability means again it is related to statistics. So a company which is running since last 8 years, 9 years, they know what may be the probable problem or probable future, what may happen in future. So they are aware of that particular problem. So that is known as probabilities. Okay. In this technique, payoff matrices and decision trees are constructed to represent variables. The decision tree is an extension of payoff matrices and helps managers in assigning financial results to various available resources of action. So this is one of the theory which is adopted or which is implemented by the manager. So it is known as a statistical tool, okay, which is based on the assumption, okay, in future what has happened in the business, what has happened in the enterprise, because the managers, they are known to it, okay, what problem they have faced in future. Now considering that probability, they are using this probability theory, and in this technique payoff matrix and matrices and decision trees are constructed and then the decisions are taken. So it is probability theory. Now game theory. Game theory helps in making decisions under competitive situation. It was basically developed for the use in wars so that action of army can be decided in the light of actions taken by the opposite army. So the term game represents a conflict between two or more parties. The game, cricket game, it is bowler and batsman. It is a two people, two parties involved. So the game is described by a set of rules. These rules clearly specify what each person called a player is required to do under all possible set of circumstances. A person has to consider a rational course of action by not only by considering his actions but also by considering the actions of other persons. Okay, all players act as intelligently and rationally and are well informed about the decision situation except the opponent action in the particular period. Okay, so it is known as a game theory. Queuing theory, it is also known as a waiting line theory, to be applied for maintaining a balance between the cost of waiting line and cost of preventing the waiting line in respect of utilization of personal equipment and services. Okay, in waiting line situation, problems arise because of either too each demand on facilities, in which case we may say that there is an excess of waiting time, or that there are not enough service facilities, or too little demand, in which the case there is either too much idle facility time or too many facilities. See the problems, waiting line theory. Okay, there are 5 problems in the organization. Now to which problem the priority should be given to what problem. Okay, that balance has been maintained by the managers, and considering the importance of that specific problem, the managers are deciding which decision to be taken first, okay, and which decision to be taken later. That is known as queuing theory. Network techniques is used for preparing and controlling the project activities. Project evaluation and review technique, VERT, and critical path method, that is CPM, are used for planning, monitoring and implementing time bound projects. Okay, these techniques help managers in deciding logical sequence in which various activities will be performed. By applying these techniques, large and complex project can be executed within the stipulated time and cost. Here we will take example of road construction project. Okay, and that particular project is related with the government project. Now in that particular example, the two techniques, that is project evaluation and review technique and critical path method, okay, these two methods are used, and with the help of these two methods, the problems, okay, used for planning, monitoring and implementing time bound project. Okay, for example, that particular road project is for 1 year. Now as in 1 year the company has to complete 50-kilometer road. Now in that time bound, 1 year is time bound and 50-kilometer is the target. Now here the company will use PERT and CPM, these techniques, and with the help of these techniques they will monitor and implement the time bound projects. So these techniques help manager in deciding logical sequence in which various activities will be performed. By applying these techniques, large and complex projects can be executed within the stipulated time period and cost. Here you have to remember the example of road project. Okay, in that 1 year they have to complete 50-kilometer, maybe 100-kilometer. Now how they will monitor, how they will implement, how they will take decisions, how they will review their program continuously, okay, to achieve their set target of repairing the road construction of 100 kilometers. So this is network technique. Now modern technique. Modern technique includes heuristic technique and participative decision making. And in this heuristic technique, it is based on the assumption that in a complex and changing business situation, strategic problems cannot be solved by applying rational and scientific techniques. So here what is done in this particular technique? By splitting the problems are divided into small parts and analysis, and the managers are analyzing each part separately. A decision can be reached. Okay, by splitting the different problems into small parts, every part is analyzed separately, and the decisions, the managers are coming up or reaching up to the decision. It is a trial and error method based on the rules of thumb. So heuristic techniques are developed by manager to deal with various components at different stages. Now participative decision making. In this type or in this technique, what happens? It is a method of applying democratic means for decision making process. In traditional managerial techniques, decisions are taken at top level management and these are intimated to a lower level. But in this case, in this participative decision making, employees are sometimes involved in case of decision making along with the managers. They are also sitting together and they are also giving their alternatives to arrive a decision. Okay, so participative decision making involves the support or the advice of subordinates in the process of decision making. So we will stop here. This was our unit 2. We have completed our unit 2 here, and in next lecture we will start unit 3. Thank you.